Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Chris Clothier with another episode of the Grind Podcast, coming to you live where I am from Memphis, Tennessee. It is a beautiful morning. Whenever you're listening to it, I hope it is as nice where you're at as it is where I'm at. Look, I'm excited for today because I'm gonna let you in a little bit on the behind the scenes process of what we do, what we try and do anyway when we're putting these podcasts together. Today, I'm going to start with the end right at the beginning so you understand exactly what today is all about, because I think it's powerful. Today's episode topic, when Isabella from my team, kind of gave me the topic, it started with, are entrepreneurs born or are entrepreneurs made? And, we were in this debate of, one, can I talk for 15 minutes on this? And I kind of laughed. I was like, you obviously don't know me very well because I can talk about 15 minutes about anything. But could we keep it interesting? Could we make it impactful for the people that are listening? So we started to go through our creative process and talk a little bit about it. And I don't want to just get up here and just talk about me or about what I think, although it's important. It's important that I am passionate about what it is that we're going to be talking about, but I wanted input. I need to make sure that I'm fully wrapped around it and that I'm being impactful if we're going to, do a topic for our listeners and viewers. So we started with some questions, and we started with the question of what is an entrepreneur? And the definitions that were kind of being thrown around and being given and the interpretation of what it means, sometimes we were like, well, is that just a business owner or is that an entrepreneur? And then, we realized that, wait a second, are we talking about one as if it's better than the other? Like, is it bad to be a business owner or is it good to be an entrepreneur? I mean, what's the difference? And then we kind of went into, what's the end goal of each of them? Are they different? Maybe, maybe not. Is there a way to say one is better than the other? And in the end, what we really came up to, and this is the key point I want everybody to take away from right at the very beginning, is that, look, business owners and entrepreneurs, they oftentimes are one in the same. And there may be some divergences here or there, but it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. And it doesn't mean that one is more important than the other. The bottom line is that whether you consider yourself, I'm just a business owner, or if I am an entrepreneur, it's not like one is more high-minded than the other. The bottom line is, are you striving for and achieving your goals and what you set out for? Are you hitting the expectations that you set for yourself? Because that's what matters. That's what matters the most. I wanted to be real careful as we started going into this because I've got some stories to share of the kind of the way that I view an entrepreneur. And like I said, where their path may diverge a bit from a business owner. But I wanted to be real clear that one is not better than the other as long as both are striving for and achieving their goals, their expectations of themselves. No matter what, that's what matters. So this is kind of as we were talking, I started sharing some stories and the team was like, yeah, you need to tell that. I didn't know that. Make sure you put that out there. So, a couple of them are about me. A couple of them are about my influences and the way I came to my interpretation of what it means to be an entrepreneur. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump right into it with you guys knowing that in the end, I don't care what you call yourself. At times I've been both in my own definition. At times I've been a business owner and at times I've been an entrepreneur. The reality of this discussion today is this: follow your heart, do your best, meet your goals, hit your expectations. That's it. The rest, everything else is semantics. That's what matters. So, as we started talking about, is this a business owner or is this a entrepreneur? It's funny that I realized in the past, I've talked a lot about the lawn care business. As I've talked about, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you're in this business, that business, I've used the lawn care business multiple times. And I'm guessing that's subliminal. I'm guessing that as I unpack some of my history, I find that I've had a couple of influences on me that have shaped my idea of what it means to be a business owner and entrepreneur, through this particular industry, through the lawn care industry. And I'll share those with you. the first one is that I've got a cousin down in Texas who was highly influenced by our grandfather. And our grandfather, I'm a third generation, business owner, entrepreneur. And my grandfather was really my cousin's mentor and helped him get started at a very young age. When he's a teenager, still, last couple of years of high school, he started a lawn care business. And as he, began to grow and, achieve some of his own money, what he was doing was trying to put himself, have his own cash. He didn't want an allowance. He didn't want, to have to rely on his parents. He wanted his own money. He had that streak in him to go out there and achieve this. So he builds this lawn care business, and he looks up and says, well, suddenly, I'm really good at what I do, and I have more opportunity than I have time. Fantastic, position to be in as a business owner. I have to make some decisions. Do I want to continue on the path I'm going down where I'm doing fine for myself and I'm earning plenty of money and I'm kind of maxed out at what I can produce? Or do I want to take that next step and grow my business? All right. I'm still a business owner, but now do I want to grow my business into something else? And his answer was yes. Suddenly he goes from where every day I am producing my own income to now I am purchasing equipment for others. I am hiring other people to take on jobs that I am going out and securing, and I am keeping some of the benefit of their work. That's a classic definition of a business owner right there. Just somebody that's building a business, creating income, and earning off of the efforts of other people. So, he begins to grow his lawn care business by bringing on more yards. Well, then suddenly he looks up and he realizes maybe I can go and I can do this apartment complex over here. Maybe I can go and bid on these highway contracts and start mowing parts of the highway that these are government contracts that are secure income over a long period of time. And it's this natural evolution to, I'm going to use the word innovate here, okay? And I want you to understand innovation is nothing more than doing things differently. All right. So he looks at his daily routine and says, I want to do something different. I don't just want to focus on single family homes. Now I get the opportunity to go and do a larger project, more income. Okay. Requires me to get more equipment, requires me to bring on more employees. And suddenly he looks up and he's not just a small business owner anymore, but he's a large business owner. Now he's got a big business going. And along with that big business and these additional contracts come new, people that he meets, new opportunities. And suddenly he finds himself growing into other ancillary areas. He is doing year-round maintenance of, installing flower beds and doing landscaping. And then he moves into landscape design. Then he moves into installation of other items that you might find at, businesses such as scoreboards at high schools. So what started off as a lawn care business suddenly becomes a landscape design, landscape installation, a large, apartment complex, a large corporate complex, year-round maintenance company, a installation of scoreboards at, outdoor fields, then scoreboards at indoor stadiums at high schools. It grew into all this multifaceted company. Again, that's a pretty classic definition of an entrepreneur, somebody who is constantly taking that next risk, willing to lay a lot on the line to continue to build his business. Again, he's still a small business owner, but now he is, kind of using innovation, doing things differently, and taking new opportunities that all were presented from his original company. Classic risk taker, all right? Super proud of him. I kind of juxtapose that against another gentleman that I knew who started a lawn care business. And he actually, the very first house I bought, this guy had bought one of the first houses completed in this neighborhood. And so every day when I would go and visit the home, every day when, I was waiting for our house to be done, and even after we moved in, every day on my drive home, I see this guy. And I actually coached his son in soccer. Okay, so we knew each other. But every day I mean, it didn't matter, rain, shine. 5 o'clock, he's on his bike and he's riding his bike through the neighborhood. And he often has a beer in one hand and the other hand, steering the bike through the neighborhood. And I noticed every time I drove past his yard, he had the nicest yard. I mean, flowers were beautiful. The plants, they were lush. His yard was just amazing. And these were nice starter homes, okay? And then I noticed he gets this nice fence put up. And when you look from the side, you can see he's got this arbor built over his back patio. And then all of a sudden you start seeing trees growing up out of the backyard. And I mean, I was like, man, this guy it's amazing looking. But yet I see him constantly working in his yard and on his bike every afternoon. And so as we, get to know one another, come to find out that he owns a lawn care company. But here's the key difference between them. Over all these years, while I've got my cousin building and taking on this next opportunity, taking on this next risk, putting all of his money into new equipment and new people to grow a whole nother side of revenue for his business, this gentleman is very happy with, I have my business built out here. No real intention to grow beyond the 3 or 4 people that I have working for me. I want to be home every afternoon. He had zero interest in designing, landscape designing, that kind of stuff. He just knew what looked well. He knew about soil. He knew which plants, could keep his yard bug free, or which, whatever it was. He knew the details, and he was never interested in growing beyond where he was. He was a small business owner. He wasn't a massive risk taker. He wasn't looking to innovate to the next thing, how was he going to grow? He was just interested in doing what he did on a daily basis. Both of these gentlemen achieved their expectation. They both hit their goals. They both worked for themselves. They both built their businesses from the ground up. They both toiled every single day in their company, and yet built 2 very different companies. Neither was necessarily more successful than the other in their own definition, right? So it doesn't matter. Neither one of them would compare themselves to the other to find their own validation of, did I do good? Am I doing right? Am I successful? They found success in their own right, in their own ability to hit their expectations and to meet their goals. And I think that as we were talking, it's that use of innovation. It's that willingness to take that next risk that really, really mattered. And let me just tell you what that looks like from an entrepreneurial standpoint, so that you understand. I call myself an entrepreneur, but again, I am a small business owner too. And at times I've been just a business owner. So when I first started my first grocery business, as I've told everybody about, I built that company up to an $18 million a year sales company. And the average ticket that I would produce in sales was about $20,000. So I had to do a lot of business to reach $18 million in sales. And I loved it. I went from, as I've told you guys about, this little cracker box, this office might have been 6x6 at the most, to a corner office big enough for 3 or 4 people, but it was only me. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I had the corner office, all the windows, but I was never willing to take on the risk of growing. I mean, this is where I was. I was really good at what I did, and I produced my own income. I worked for myself. I had my own hours, but I didn't ever take on the risk of hiring other people. Probably because, as I've told you guys before, when I owned that company, that's the first time I sat my wife down and said, we're down to the last few dollars. I can pay next month's bills, but beyond that, I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to find the money. I was okay with that type of pressure. I mean, that's what being a small business owner is. You take the pressure on yourself. You're not taking a paycheck. You're enjoying the fruits of what it is you're able to produce. But I hadn't yet made that crossover to be an entrepreneur where I was willing to take even greater risks. As you know from my past story, I was successful. Once I was able to get vulnerable, build up some even closer, deeper relationships, I was able to build a really good company. But I never took that next risk. I never took that next step of saying, I'm going to take on more debt. I'm going to innovate and do things a little bit differently. I'm going to bring on team members that are going to help me grow. I wasn't ready for that. When I, and I found, I will tell you, I'll share this with you because this is a story that you guys haven't heard yet on the podcast. What I found was I needed mentorship. I needed tough love. I needed whatever we want to call it to kind of push me over that next hump, to push me over that kind of self fear and move into really kind of achieving what was my destiny's the wrong word. What was my real fulfillment? What did I need to do to actually hit my expectations? And I will never forget it. It's the second time. And it was towards the end of my grocery business when, I had taken my eye off the ball. I'd gotten into the real estate side. I owned a lot of properties at this point. I had started doing some small scale wholesaling. And I looked up one day and realized that for the second time in my life, I'm not going to be able to pay bills soon. I'm in trouble. And I need to make some adjustments. And I will never forget this, this day for as long as I live. I sat down with my dad and I asked him, I said, "Hey man, can we go to lunch? I need to talk to you about something." And the first time I asked my dad to go, and it just so happens that we chose the same restaurant both times. It's just purely coincidental, but it's just one of those funny little things that I think back at. The first time I told my dad that I was not going to work for him anymore, that I was going to start my own company, we went and had a meal at this particular restaurant. And I guess I wanted to be eating when I chose to break that news to him. So the second time, now I'm back in Memphis. I've started my own company. It's been successful. I've done well. I've moved my family back to Memphis to be around family. He and I we're not working together. He is in the very early days of what will become Memphis Invest. My younger brother is already working for him at this point. They are putting together their partnership that, again, in the future, they would invite me into as Memphis Invest. But at this time, we're two separate things. And I haven't really even started my true first real estate business yet. I'm just kind of dabbling. But I sit my dad down and I tell him, you know what? I need your advice. And I'll never forget the words I told him. I said, I think I'm bankrupt. I think I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. And it's just so classic of my dad, the way he reacts. I remember it, and I probably remember it not 100% correctly, but I don't even think he stopped eating. I think he just kept right on eating the whole time. Never really showed any emotion whatsoever, and kind of chuckles a little bit and says, "You're not bankrupt. I don't understand what you're talking about. This does not compute with me." He looks at me and says, "You need to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go to work." And he points to Brett and him. He's like, "We're building a business over here. We are taking big risks to build out this big business over here. If we can do this, there's no reason that you can't." He told me, he's like, you're cut from my cloth. You went out and started your own business out there, and it was highly successful. You've done it. You know what you need to do. Don't sit here and tell me that you're bankrupt. Enjoy your lunch. When we're done, leave here and go to work. Go build what you need to build. Go take the risks you need to take. You are a business builder, but you're also an entrepreneur at heart. You just haven't taken the risks yet. Go out there and do what you need to do. From that conversation, I'm not kidding, 9 months later, I have built an incredible real estate business. I have partnered with some other people on some deals. I have built a business on my own, and I even partnered with my dad and brother for some of the services in my company. That's what would eventually lead us to come together and say, this is kind of silly for us to have two separate companies growing at the same time. Let's build one. Let's figure out a way that we can all work together. So look, it makes me laugh when I look back at it that entrepreneurs, a true entrepreneur is somebody, in my opinion, that's born. They have it inside of them. But what makes them successful is their willingness and their knowledge of how do I start a business? Because all entrepreneurs are business owners, no matter what. And then do I have the right mentors around me? Do I watch the right podcasts and listen to the right, read the right newsletters? Do I consume the right information that essentially builds the fire inside me that says, this is how you grow. This is how you innovate. This is how you take risks that will lead you to what your full appreciation of your expectations. How do you really reach the pinnacle of what you can do? I will tell you that here at REI Nation, we haven't. We haven't even come close to the pinnacle of what we can achieve. And it's not about more money. We don't want, it's not, I think that in many respects, entrepreneurship has nothing to do with money. I know a lot of fantastic entrepreneurs that have built amazing nonprofits that are extremely successful by any measure, but especially by their own expectation. I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are very wealthy, but it's not about the money. And it's so hard to get people to understand, what does that mean? For us here, it's not about the money. We do not want to do 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, 1,500 homes in a year so that we can make more money. The whole drive is reaching the full level of our expectation, and our expectation is excellence. Our expectation is to get the most out of every day. And when we look up and see that through innovation, through taking new risks, through trying new technologies, through trying to look for new business opportunities, revenue streams, whatever you want to call it, all of these give us opportunity to grow. All of these give us opportunities to do more with our day. And if, at the end of the day, that's what an entrepreneur is. He's just someone who says, for whatever reason, whatever my driver is, it can't be satisfied because there's no end point. It's always about going and growing and doing. I watched a special recently on Netflix, and I'll share this with you here at the end, that talked about what does it mean to really be the best, and how do you get the most out of yourself every day? And that's a question that entrepreneurs and business owners alike have to ask. And one of the answers I thought was fantastic was this. Mountaintops, and I make sure I got to give her credit. It's Jill Ellis, the former U.S. women's national team coach, who says mountaintops are small and the air is thin. And she explained to her team, and it really resonated with me, that the mountaintop is not meant to stay. Mountain climbers go to the top. They achieve what they're looking for. And they go back to the bottom, and they reset, and they get ready to go again. And they have to keep climbing that mountaintop. It's the challenge of it, okay? That's what entrepreneurship really is all about. It's that willingness to keep trying to go back to the top over and over and over again. There are some wonderful, fantastic business owners out there that I know that are great friends that have built some amazing businesses, but they're not willing to keep risking. I mean, they've risked already to get where they're at, and they're hitting their expectations. It's fantastic, okay? But true entrepreneurs, they're just born with something inside them that says, I have to keep climbing. Look, if you're one of those, if this resonated with you today, send us a note. Let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. Until we come together again, guys, all right? Commit to the grind. Keep it going. I appreciate you joining us. Can't wait to meet you again. Take care. See you soon.